Okie doke.
All right, it is the bottom of the hour, and I would like to welcome everyone to our Sunday morning coffee house. My name is Megan Moore. I am co-founder of the Center for Functional Nutrition, and it is our pleasure to have you all here with us today. We very strongly believe in our mission, that is to better people's lives and to be a force for good in the world. And this is certainly one way in which we really enjoy doing that. So Brian, I'll hand the coffee house over to you.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us on this beautiful Sunday morning, where we get to connect together, create together, and collaborate to find ways to impact lives in all kinds of cool and creative ways. And I'm so excited to be joining this morning. We have a slightly different take on the coffee house than we've done before. And it's an idea I've been having for the past month. And as I was talking with our guest this morning over the last couple of weeks in preparation, it really felt like such a brilliant fit to do what we're calling Heroes Among Us. So really, when you get to know Olivia on today's coffee house, this is really a testament to someone out in the community that has been through an incredible personal journey, and you'll get to hear that right from her. But the most important thing, the reason why I believe Olivia is a hero among us, is she has been on her journey and she has made a decision to commit herself to helping others to the best degree that she possibly can through health and mindfulness. And I'm just absolutely honored to call Liv a friend, and even more excited that I get to create opportunities with her to help people around the world. So without further ado, Olivia, the floor is yours. Please let people know who may not know you, just who you are and how you've come to be on our coffee house today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Brian, for the introduction. And thank you, Russell and Megan, for having me here as well. So happy to be with all of you this morning. Thank you for taking time out of your weekend, your Sunday morning. I know we're all kind of having our tea, water, coffee still. So thank you so much for joining us and me especially this morning. So a little bit about me. I'm from New Jersey. I was born and raised here. I still live in Jersey people. And yeah, just a little bit about my life, I guess. You know, I grew up with two sisters. I'm the middle girl in a loud family with all women. My dad is a saint. And most of my childhood was spent traveling actually for competitive Irish step dancing, but I also performed at a high level and I taught as well. So most of my childhood was dedicated to my passion for dance. And then I went to an all-girls Catholic high school, Mount St. Dominic Academy in Caldwell. And then I made my way to Fairfield University, where I studied English journalism. And after school, I didn't really dabble in anything with my English journalism degree, but I headed into the retail space. I worked in the jewelry industry when I got out of school. And then I made my way to a nonprofit consignment shop where I managed the store there. And that was really interesting for me because I was able to blend my work and my love for retail and customers and building relationships with also giving back to the community. All of our proceeds went to victims for domestic violence. So that is something that I'm extremely passionate about. And then after I left Design Consign, I went on to become a store manager for Ted Baker London at a store here in New Jersey. And I was there for about 4 years until COVID happened, 2020, which was a big shift for me, which I'll get into later in my presentation here. Like many of us had a big transition last year, there was one that took place for me, especially with my career. And how I came to be here is a very interesting story, I think, and it just goes to tell that connections in life and people that we meet in life are it can be so wonderful when life kind of just comes together. And I truly believe that no person, no experience that happens to you in life is just coincidental. I really believe that people are brought to us for certain reasons. And when I was working at the nonprofit consignment boutique, there was a woman who was hired to help me out and run the store. Her name is Liz. And this was about 5-6 years ago. When I had met Liz at the time, we kind of bonded over our health challenges. You know, at that time I was dealing with a lot of digestive distress already. And she had just come out of this healing thing that she had, and she just wouldn't stop talking about this guy called Russell. And she referred to him as her health guru. He's this guy that gives me these blue-green algae supplements. He's a godsend. She just was always ranting and raving about Russell. And it was interesting because at one point, it was a few months into our jobs there at Design Consign, she felt like she was getting another bout, and she actually went through diverticulitis, and Russell helped her through that health complication. But she started feeling another wave of it happening, and she's like, she just reached out to Russell again, and he got her through that time. And it was so interesting. And then, you know, we kind of stayed in touch as I went on to my other job, but we did definitely lose touch a little bit. And then last year, 2020 came around, and we just had this reconnection. You know, I think so many of us last year, we were home, you know, reconnecting with friends, family via Zoom. You know, people weren't living their crazy lives commuting to work all the time. And she does work in New York City. So we reconnected, and I was telling her everything that was going on with my health. And she goes, you know, this is ridiculous. You just have to contact Russell. So contacted Russell. I read his book within a day. And here we are almost a year later, and I'm on the Coffee House. So I'll get into a little bit more of my journey with Russell, but that's how I came to be here, Brian.
Thank you, Olivia. It's I love what you said about connections, right? You meet people along the way, and you never know when there's going to be this magical fit and your life just changes. You know, it's those conversations happened over the years, and then all of a sudden you did a program with Russell. You and I developed a relationship. You're on the Coffee House, and you just never know when that's going to happen. But when it does, it's, I think, a great sign that you're on the path that you're supposed to be on. And I'm just excited for you to dive into really what has developed in your life to really take on your path and just dive into it fully. Because I know that you have an incredible vision for your work and with what you can do with it. So please let us all know kind of what developed on that journey to, you know, create the path that you're now on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, like many of us, right, we all have our story to tell. I think stories are so profound. They really make us who we are. Me being an English journalism major too, I'm especially fascinated by people's stories. When I was at Fairfield U, I was actually one of the editors for the newspaper, and I was more of like the social section of the paper. So I wrote about, you know, people on campus, about relationships. I actually did a lot of stories on dating and what that looks like in the college culture. And so I've always been fascinated with people's stories, and you know, people are just, they're so profound in the way that they come into this world, and you know, how they live their lives. And so I encourage everyone to share your story with your friends, with your family, because you know, every story is unique in its way. And in my sense, it was my healing journey. I think that is really my story to tell. So when I was in college, which we're coming up on around this time, you know, 8, 9, 10 years ago, already at this point, I started dealing with a lot of digestive distress, and I was very overworked, I think, in college. Like many of us, right? We're not sleeping, we're not fully taking care of ourselves. At the time, I was actually working on campus as an ambassador for Fairfield University. And I was also commuting into New York City. I was working at 17 Magazine 3 days a week. And I was just constantly running, and, you know, started having stomach problems, but really didn't think much of it. You know, I think many of us we get so caught up in our lives and the hecticness of our lives that we tend to sometimes put our health to the side, or, oh, I'll just be able to get through this. This is normal. I'm just stressed out, whatever it is. So at the time, it didn't really shock me. I just kind of was getting through things. And then I graduated college and I actually went abroad for 3 weeks. I was with my now husband, who I met at Fairfield U, and we were in Paris, and I'll never forget it because I had such a terrible case of thrush in my mouth and I could not move my tongue. And I was like, okay, this is weird. I can't talk. I'm abroad, like we're here for 3 weeks. What am I going to do? But again, I kind of just like brushed it under the rug. I said, let's enjoy our time here. I'll get through this. And that's always kind of been my mentality. I was constantly just like pushing through the bad health and the bad symptoms. And sure enough, I kind of found my way visiting all these doctors and kind of going down that rabbit hole of getting tested, and nothing was coming about. And finally, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. And it was that doctor that sent me to her Ayurvedic practitioner, which I will forever be grateful for, because it was really at that moment that I started realizing and learning more about whole body health and what it means to heal the body in its entirety, right? I think we get so bogged down in our culture nowadays where we're seeing all these specialists and, going to this doctor for one thing, that doctor for another. But it was really then that I was like, okay, like, she's looking at my whole entire being. This is really interesting. And also, what she wanted to start me on as a protocol was all natural plants, herbs. And I quickly was like, okay, this could be a unique approach. And it kind of got, the blood flowing with that. Then I found my way to a functional medicine clinic in New York City. And it was there that they really encouraged me to continue looking at my whole body, but more from like an emotional standpoint, and really healing the mind. And my doctor there actually said to me, Liv, do you do any meditation? Do you do any breath work? What does that look like to you? And I was like, no, I don't do any of that. And she's like, well, you have digestive distress. This is something that we really think you should start making a part of your routine. So it was also there too, where I did receive additional diagnoses, which I was grateful for, just to have something to work off of. I think we, getting trapped in those diagnoses can be not so good at sometimes, but it's also powerful in its own way, because at least okay, this is what's going on in my body. I think sometimes we can kind of get trapped in not knowing. So I was also diagnosed with Epstein-Barr virus. I was completely depleted in my nutrients. My cortisol levels were through the roof. I had all these things going on, adrenal fatigue. So in any case, I started really focusing on breath work. I found my way to a random Kundalini yoga class on a Sunday, which I had never been introduced, like I had never really done yoga before. And now I show up this crazy breath of fire class. And I left there and I was like, wow, okay, this is pretty amazing. And the gut mind connection is really, this is something, this is really unique. So I want to fast forward here a little bit now. 2019 comes around and I was really, really sick in the summer of 2019. I had 1 week where I was at work, shockingly, but it was pretty bad. I had lost 10 pounds in a week and I'm already thin enough. And I ended up going through with getting a colonoscopy because that's what my GI had instructed me to do. And it came back completely fine. And I was like, oh, okay. So I then went on to see a parasite doctor. They found that I was loaded with parasites. I started doing a cleanse and that wasn't really working either. So now 2020, quarantine hits. I'm home. I reconnect with this friend from Design Consign. And next thing I know, I am thinking about not going back to my retail life because I had realized that, yes, I love that job. Yes, I love my customers, my relationships, but I can do that in the health and wellness space. So what can I do that's going to allow for me to really be in my element at this point? And I decided to enroll at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition to become a health coach. And at this point, I still wasn't sure if I was going to go back to TED or not, but I knew that I had to start doing something with health and wellness. I've been on this journey. I've learned so much and I need to be sharing my insight, my knowledge with people that need help, that need that support. And around this time, last May, is when I connected with Russell. So again, going back to, synchronicity, going back to timing in life, it's really everything, because it's so unique that I started this journey with IIN and then I started with Russell, because a lot of what I was doing and our conversations that we were having, I was like, wait, was Russell just tuned into class? Like, how are we we're talking about the same thing here. So it was really a beautiful thing that was unfolding. And, with Russell, I want to point out a few things about his program and working with him, because obviously it has changed my life in ways that he will never even know, or I could be on 4 coffee houses and still talking about it. But 3 things that I really want to highlight in terms of what Russell's program is really all about. And for me, one was it continued to open my eyes, to this concept of, whole body, holistic healing. It's so interesting because all the different approaches that I took, from my Western doctors to my Eastern practitioners to, this breath work that I was doing with my Kundalini instructor, and all these different things, it all kind of compiled, but it never really quite made sense until I started working with Russell. Like, he was then able to kind of break things down for me. And I was like, okay, everything that I've been doing, is starting to make sense. And, here in my house, it's something that we talk a lot about, but this whole concept of compound interest. My husband's actually a certified financial planner with Northwestern Mutual. So he's always talking about compound interest. And I'm always talking about it in terms of, compounding these healthy habits and lifestyle in order to achieve, what we want to achieve for health. So Russell really helped me kind of see that I can heal myself. I can heal my body in its entirety. And one thing he always tells me is, your body never lies. Your body's your best friend. So listen to it. And he's really taught me to be super in tune to my body and how I'm taking care of it. And obviously, this is a career that I want to go down, to become a health coach. I would love to work with people one-on-one and, share my insight and be that support. And Russell has been such a powerful mentor in terms of my career that I want to achieve. He is when we kind of think about the concept of a health coach, I see a health coach as somebody who not only listens, but empowers their clients, right? As health coaches, we want our clients to be able to go out into the world and make these decisions for themselves and feel empowered doing so. And Russell has taught me so much about that. And lastly, but obviously not least, there's really nothing like what I went through with Russell and his 6-month program. Like I had mentioned before, I've gone through so many different approaches, so many different food approaches, so many different protocols, from the parasite cleanse to the Ayurvedic protocol, but there was nothing ever that was this comprehensive, but also, in terms of, just breaking down like why we're actually doing what we're doing. And Russell brings so much more to the table. Yes, it's about healing, your dysbiosis, right? But it's so much more than that, because he actually helps you, kind of heal your soul, and he's full of such knowledge. It's profound. So thank you, Russell, for everything. And I encourage everyone, to share, Russell and what he's doing in his vision, and Megan and Brian and the Center for Functional Nutrition, because it is really an unbelievable, awe-inspiring, honestly, center. So just wanted to say that to all of you today. And kind of fast forwarding then to today, where I'm at in 2021 of the springtime here, a few things are going on. So as I continue to build towards a health coaching practice and what that looks like for me at this point, I'm really trying to share my lifestyle, my food tips on my social media channel, which is called Heal with Live. I'm extremely passionate about food and what it can do to the body. I really believe that food is such a powerful tool for good and bad. as we all know. But on my social media, I do share a lot about food and how it can heal the body, and, just sharing, what's going on in my life. Again, I'm so passionate about this space, and I feel like I'm doing a disservice if I'm holding in all this information, right? I want to be that source of support for so many people, especially those who are going through a healing journey where maybe they feel alone. There's so many people who are afraid to share what's going on, or they don't have the support. And if they can have that one person that they go to, and that's me, that will just mean so much. And I'm also a founding ambassador for a company called Regenrus. Regenrus is an amazing company that's currently creating these science-based synergistic nutritional supplements, in addition to having a non-toxic, clean beauty line. So I'm an ambassador with them, and it's a wonderful opportunity to also not only just be in my health and wellness world, but also be able to give back, which is, like I had mentioned before, a passion of mine, because Regenrus does do a lot for what's going on in our world today, and people who are in need. 4% of all of our sales are given back to people, planet, and animals. So definitely check out Regenrus and Regenrus Cares. And just the last few minutes here before we wrap up, I would love to kind of just go through a little presentation that I have prepared. Sorry, it's loading. So these are just a few things I wanted to talk about today in terms of health and healing journey. So there's a company, I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with it, but it's called the Cia Redox, and it's a powerful cellular signaling company. And the founder and CEO of our company, Tyler Norton, he's a pretty profound individual. Motivating speaker, just a wonderful leader of this amazing company. And a few weeks ago, we had our convention. And in one of Tyler's opening dialogues, he was talking about a story having to do with Ernest Hemingway. And Hemingway was out, and he was encouraged by his colleagues, his friends, to create a 6-word story. And they didn't think he could do it. They were like, how can you tell a story in 6 words? So in any case, he did end up doing so. And Tyler Norton here at our Cia convention was encouraging all of us in attendance to create a 6-word story. So I'm sitting there, and immediately, health comes to mind, as that's what usually comes to my mind: health, healing, food. That's kind of the world that I live in. So immediately what came to me was foundational health creates an abundant life. And it kind of got me thinking, because I was like, well, what is a foundation? I kind of was teetering with these words for weeks, and I still am. But what does a foundation really mean for me at this point? And I have a little list here, and I truly believe that a strong foundation will set us up for health and wellness and well-being. And for me, what that looks like is nutrient-dense foods and proper hydration, having deep restorative rest, incorporating mindfulness and gratitude in our days, movement, whatever that may be, time spent in nature, joy, meaning, and intentional living, and then body love and appreciation. And I think a lot of people, especially going through IIN and being, a health coach and having a presence on social media, all of these people are talking about, oh, you have to have a self-care routine, and what does your self-care routine look like? And, I think a lot of us can get bogged down in, needing to get massages and going for, facials, which is all wonderful stuff. But to me, this is more than self-care. This, at the end of the day, I think, is self-love. If we can provide ourselves these things on a day-to-day basis, it can have profound effects. And this brings me to everyday decisions. Those foundations, that foundation is not built right in a day. These are things that are compiling, going back to the concept of this compound interest over time. So it has made me reflect on, okay, what am I doing every day that's going to create that strong foundation? And it made me think, how, what, and where am I eating my food? Who am I surrounding myself with? What am I surrounding myself with? How do I talk to myself? How do I talk to others? What does my living environment look like? What does my work environment look like? I think nowadays we are faced with so many decisions throughout our days, more than ever before. And over time, they do add up, and they contribute to our health. They contribute to our relationships, our careers. And the body at the end of the day is the holder for all these decisions made. So, these decisions at the end of the day are going to have a profound effect on our body, on our entire being, whether for the good or bad. And I think, people can always focus on, what they can and cannot do. And more often than not, I think we as a society think about all the things we can't do, right? Like, especially last year kind of made us think, oh, well, we can't go out and do this, we can't do that. But I think once people started thinking, but I can do this and I can do that, it just shifted this whole mentality. So for me in my health journey, there were many days and many times where I was constantly obsessed with this idea of I can't do this, I can't eat that. But then once I had that shift in mindset, it just opened up my whole world. So I encourage you, to ask yourself, what can I do today to, for my body that will serve it well? And how can I impact my life today to make it better? So what does health mean to you? What does it look like? How does it feel? I don't think this is something we often ask ourselves, but I think it's really important to check in with that. And for me, I see it as living in a happy, well-nourished body where both the emotional and physical bodies are aligned. I think, again, this goes back to caring for the whole self. The body is such a remarkable machine, one that's striving for homeostasis daily at each moment, and we must cater and care to that, to everything, to mind, body, and soul. And I've always kind of been fascinated with this concept of blue zones. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with blue zones, but they are these cities and towns in the world, there's only 4 of them, that have the highest amount of living centenarians in this world. So people who are over 100 still living their days to the fullest. And I was introduced to the Blue Zones concept when I was going through IIN's health coaching program. And this has been a large part of my healing journey because yes, I'm not living in a blue zone, in a beautiful town in Greece or in Costa Rica. And obviously I'm envious of the lifestyle that they have there, but a lot of them, are fortunate enough to live and to be born into an environment like that. But I think for us here, we can adopt those practices to make our lives that much better. They walk everywhere, they eat locally grown foods, they spend time together with friends and family, they have a purpose. These people who are over 100 years old, they still wake up every day with intention and meaning. They go to sleep within a few hours of the sun setting, and they limit their exposure to screens. So I think, going back to what my health journey has looked like, this is such a big part of it now. And I really encourage you to read more about it and check it out. And these are just some of my health hacks that I incorporate into my daily routine. And so some of them are dry brushing, drinking body temperature water with a touch of sea salt, which is something that Russell introduced me to with the water of cure. Tongue scraping, something from my Ayurvedic days, taking cold showers, being in nature, breathing, basking in sunlight, especially within an hour of waking up to reset our circadian rhythms, swapping out toxic home and beauty products for non-toxic ones, and establishing a bedtime routine. And for a lot of these too, they are free health hacks. There's so many healing opportunities around us. And I'm just grateful to have been, brought into this world where I've come to know a lot of this. And so, I definitely encourage you to try some of these out and follow me on my Heal with Liv page. And, again, I want to thank all of you for being here this morning and for listening to my story, listening to my journey. And I would love to connect with as many of you as I possibly can. So and if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Liv. That was, wow, that was extraordinary. You are absolutely a hero among us. And just thank you for sharing your story. It's absolutely profound, and you did it so well. And all I could think the whole time was, wow, I'm gonna get to witness Liv do this for the rest of her life. And I feel so honored and grateful to be a part of that with you. Thank you so much for making the decisions that you've made to do the work that you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Liv? Just start waving at me. Carol Montgomery.
It's always me first, isn't it? Liv, I need your email
Always.
address.
My email?
Yes.
Yes, it's O Snoddy, SNODDY @regenrus.com. You can send it there.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Did I see Carol Patty? Were you waving
Yes,
at me?
yes. How do you spell Regenrus?
REGENRUS.
Ah, see, I spelled it wrong. Okay. I just was, I was just really touched by your presentation. It was so from your heart, and I just loved everything that you said. And I think I related to a lot of it, my own journey. And I think I love Russell as much as you do. So I just want to thank you, and I'm excited to get on your Heal with Liv site. I will do that and connect with you.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Carol Patty, for your leadership out there in the world as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Russell, did you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to acknowledge Olivia for her presentation this morning and the journey, which I know it's been at least 10 years of, and a lot of that time was suffering. A lot of that time was difficult for her. And to have seen how far you've come in 1 year's time, Olivia, really quite remarkable. And there's nothing more wonderful for a teacher to see a student become a teacher. So thank you for all the work that you've done. And you're just beginning to make an impact on the world. So what the world needs is people who have healed themselves, and then out of that experience, encourage others to take up the adventure. So thanks so much, Olivia. Very inspiring. Love you.
Russell, love you too.
Thank you, Russell. Donna, please.
I just want to acknowledge, Olivia, that was a beautiful presentation. And what I felt from you, I can feel the results of your efforts and your presence, the flow. I felt the homeostasis of your being in the manner in which you presented yourself. So I just really wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. Beautifully said. Megan.
Yeah, when Brian first shared this new idea, Heroes Amongst Us, with me, I was really struck by it, because everyday heroes, we live amongst everyday heroes. And so many of us human beings don't actually see that. So many of us have extraordinary journeys. And so I really like bringing this to the coffee house, and to hear your story, Olivia, and have it reflected back to me, as Russell was saying, when a student speaks, when I hear you, and I remember the first time I spoke to you and we connected so strongly, and then to hear you speak and to bring the principles and practices that you've learned into your own life with who you are is quite extraordinary. So thank you for doing that. I certainly appreciate that. And I appreciate you very much.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you, Megan. Anybody else with a comment or question? Okay, well, thank you, Olivia, for being the honorary first Hero Among Us. It was meant to be. It was profound, extraordinary, and I'm so happy it was you, really. It was, I can't wait to rewatch this because it really was so good. And I just, every time I connect with you, I'm very blessed. I get to connect with Liv nearly every day and create with her almost every day. And you're going to do so much, and you're so good ready. And that's just so cool. It's going to be so much fun. So thank you, Olivia. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have a live good news this Sunday with our very own Donna Kuntz. She is an extraordinary light leader guide in my life. And I'm so incredibly blessed that we've developed a relationship, and we have so much to do together in this life. And I'm so grateful that that I can call you a friend and a teacher. And Donna's going to share something from her heart, and it's very timely. So without further ado, I'll have Donna send us all on our way today. Over to you, Donna.
Thank you, Brian and Olivia and Russell, for having me, and right back at you in every way. It's so synchronistic. And Olivia, I wrote down 28 points of commonality in your conversation between you and I. It was kind of mind-blowing, really, but that's for another conversation. So I'll just share this with you. This is just something that came through me. You'll never go back to what you once knew. It's time to find new ways to do what we do. The free fall is on and we're all spinning fast. So it's time to move forward and let go of the past. The life we once knew is no longer our home. We're creating new systems for a future unknown. The ego's world of greed and consumption is so out of control, we can no longer function. There's so many options for our future together, yet to get there, we're bound to pass through some stormy weather. The doctors and the scientists simply can't know it all. It's time to go inward and heed our heart's call, a place where much wisdom and truth is stored, intelligent solutions that will move us all forward, a unified field of collective care with a newly found reverence for our earth and our air, awakened hearts and compassionate minds. True care and action is our natural design. We're beings of light in a body contained, and with love as our guide, there's so much to be gained. You're one of a one in an infinite span. There's no other like you, be it woman or man. You're one of a kind, a unique expression with a one of a kind energetic impression. So gather the gifts with which you've been endowed and share them by living your light out loud.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Absolutely extraordinary.
That was beautiful.
What a way for us all to be connected and guided by those words, Donna. Thank you for bringing those together. Olivia, thank you for your incredible leadership and the beautiful soul that you are. Thank you, Donna, for bringing all that language and energy into a beautiful space for us all to go out and touch someone today. Please go out, give someone a smile, open a door for someone, share parts of that poem with someone. Just go out and, as Donna so beautifully said, live your light out loud. Thank you, everyone, for joining our coffee house. Can't wait to see you again. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Martine.
No,
I'm going to say goodbye.